it's Ruby here, bringing you guys another video of Drama Queens podcast. We're back with another episode. This time it is, 7:09. So this episode is the beginning of the Millie drug addiction arc. We see kind of the beginning of the fall of Alex Dupre as well, and the conflict between Brooke, Julian, and Alex. And we also see continued interactions with Rachel and Dan Scott, and Quinn and Clay. And let's get into it. Here we go. I'm going to do this at 2x speed so that we can get through this episode much faster than an hour. Alright, here we go.
We're all about that high school drama girl, all about them high school queens. We'll take you for a ride in our comic girl, cheering for the right team. Drama queens, smart girl, rough girl, fashion metro tough girl, you can sit with us, girl. Drama queens, drama queens, drama queens. Drama queens.
Welcome in, everybody.
Hi, pal.
So,
Hi.
How are you doing? I'm good. It's been like a bit of a whirlwind of travel these last 2 weeks with the DNC.
Alright, here we go.
On Tuesday.
Test.
podcast,
Okay.
I got to go do something.
Test. I think that's fine. Should be fine.
It was really neat. And Easton came, and we just were like, I also got to play
Test.
show him around
Okay.
everywhere, and take him like into the
Sorry.
stuff. It was really sweet.
what a boss move.
Looks like we
You
don't
guys were able to
have
show someone
Joy
around the
today.
White House. Kudos to you.
Thank you. I know it's actually really funny. I was like, okay, so this hallway and these and the stairs here, and that's where the bowling alley is. And did you know that in the 60s? And the girl who had like come to meet us from the office was like, you know where everything is? I was like, oh, I'm really letting my nerdy freak flag fly, aren't I?
Secret Service starts whispering about you. Maybe we put her on a list.
I was like, hey guys.
Where
They got floor
is
seats at a concert and you're like, oh,
Rob
tours of-
today? Is this another hotel room
Never
or?
have I called it La Casa Blanca, but I will from here on out.
It's fun. Run with it, audience. If you like it, run with it. It's yours.
Run with it. Well,
Where in the world are you right now? This is a new background.
I am on the East Coast, and I am like literally hiding, speaking softly.
This is another Hilton
in
room?
my room, because there are other meetings happening in the main room where I normally podcast with you guys. And so it's like, it just happens to be one of those hours of the day where everybody needs quiet. Yeah, it's, if you could see the setup of how all my technical gear is propped up like on pillows, and there's like a light stand. It's just elegance.
I feel you, sister. I'm currently in my house on Jenny's
Oh,
sofa. My computer is propped up on a
not
stone
at the
box.
Hilton
I mean, it's just,
today.
You know, by hook or crook, we're making it happen.
I like seeing all the fun, like kid trampoline climbing wedges, all the stuff behind you. I'm like, oh yeah, oh yeah.
I don't know what you mean by kid. That's my mini trampoline. Those
yeah,
are
it's
my
not for a
4 building
3-year-old at
blocks.
all.
That's my inflatable punchy guy. No, yeah, it's a kid's playground down here, and Dad
love
gets in the mix.
Yeah, I love
All right,
it.
we got to talk about this episode because there's so much to unpack
There's
and
a
to
lot.
hear about. It's season 7, episode 9. Now You Lift Your Eyes to the Sun. Air date November 9th, 2009. Synopsis reads: Haley returns to the stage and Brooke receives life-changing news. Meanwhile, Dan Scott returns to Tree Hill, much to the chagrin of Nathan, who is about to sign a new NBA contract with the help of his agent Clay. Written by Karen Gist. I apologize if you pronounce it Gist, Karen. Directed by the incomparable, irreplaceable Sophia Bush.
Stop, you're sweet.
Hey, what's your middle name?
Anna.
Sophia Anna Bush. That rolls off the tongue well.
It feels weird to me. I have no connection to my middle name at all. But it's all right. I'll take it.
Is there anyone in the family who's that named after?
It comes out of that whole, like, I don't know, it's that whole Italian, like, Maria, Anna. There's all those sort of classic names in the lineage. And yeah, I don't know, some person somewhere in the fam.
All right, so what was it like watching this episode for you?
This was honestly such a trip because I just remember, there are things that I had forgotten, and there are things I remember in such detail. Like, I remember sitting down and building out my director's binder with the overhead floor plans of all the sets and mapping out all the blocking and where people were going to be and why. And, you know, some of it works beautifully and some of it you have to change on the fly on the day. I remember us trying to figure out how to get out of one scene, and Peter Kowalski, our DP, was like, oh, well, if we did this transition, then we can fade into this transition with this other thing. And there's like, you prepare and you over-prepare for everything, and then there's also just stuff you can't really know will happen. Weirdly, the 2 things I remember the most are sitting in the director's chair directing and Trick in that outfit from the Haley concert.
Trick,
And
okay.
I remember what it felt like to shoot all those scenes to get into Brooke's whole fertility heartbreak journey. And then the other thing I remember the most is the stuff that you and me and
Alex?
Chantal did
Oh.
out at the beach that night, because I really wanted to do this beautiful walk and talk with the 2 of you and have this moment out there where we could really see that you were out on the sand alone. It was dark, it was beautiful, and the complexity of doing that meant that everything had to be on a Steadicam. We had to have, you know, someone from our electrician's department holding a light on a stick, you guys following like a ball light down the sand. I mean, it was so silly to watch it, but it looked as beautiful as I wanted it to, and it felt so important to me. I remember all of us having these conversations about that budding chemistry between Clay and Quinn, and like how I wanted everyone to be able to feel it, and I wanted it to be awkward for Nathan to be sat between the 2 of you when you clearly so badly want to kiss at the bar but you hadn't yet, and the whole thing. And I was like, oh my god, it all worked. And I just remember being so invested with you guys because you were our new characters and your relationship meant so much, and feeling like I got to direct the episode where we got to see Clay and Quinn really begin and really take the leap into admitting that they cared for each other. It felt like such a big responsibility for me, not just because I wanted you guys to feel taken care of, but because you were the couple coming in to, you know, fulfill that sort of trifecta tentpole of Peyton and Lucas. And I don't know, it was so weird how invested in you guys I felt, and I completely forgot that the episode for me revolved around the love triangle with Austin and Jana. I was like, oh my god, this is the episode, and I directed those scenes you would think I would have remembered.
With Clay and Quinn, you stuck the landing.
Aw. So did you guys, though.
Well, thanks. Okay, yeah, I mean, it was a good team effort because I remember I was telling you
Go team.
earlier in the season that there was the episode where I thought Clay and Quinn had hooked up that first night she goes home with him, and I was really disappointed and bummed out because I was thinking, this is their origin story? That's
Yeah.
what?
You're like, why don't I remember this? What a bummer.
Yeah, and then of course I realized that wasn't the case, but this episode was great because I really felt like I saw them kind of falling into place with each other. And then the first
Yeah.
kiss, I love that it almost happens in the dark room. It almost happens a couple times.
Mhm.
Yes.
And that scene on the beach is really, it's very magical. Like it came across that it was a special moment, because it's great. It needs to be something memorable. It needs to have,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Not
some
something
special
that's,
quality to
like,
it. It's
in a
big thing, you know, it's
closet
the
or
beginning of these two,
something.
but I'd say you captured it wonderfully.
I
And a
really,
nice
I just
setting
remember
and
how much fun it was.
everything.
And I remember those conversations about that scene at the bar with you guys, you know, with Clay, Quinn, and Nathan, the scene in the dark room, how it's like when you have that feeling that, and it's getting so big, it's like a balloon filling up, you feel like it's going to burst out of you. And I could feel that watching you two. And I remember thinking, like, oh, we're getting it. It feels like it's building and building and building on set, but you never know how something's going to translate on camera. And, you know, there's even some funny things, like the way we transitioned down into y'all's feet on the beach. We were transitioning into Austin and Jenna's hands in the sink, but like seconds get clipped here and there for time because you have to get your episode to 42 minutes. And I remember being like, oh, they were supposed to be like wrestling over the little drug vial, and then it just got to a close up of like Swarovski crystals, and I was like, oh, that was a bummer. But it's the funny stuff that, you know, you might not notice as a viewer, but that I remember even all these years later as a director. And there was something so cool about having this experience. You know, I'd really gotten to shadow the producers for so long at this point on our show, but no matter how ready you might feel to direct, it's also so scary. And it lit up my love for our show again in a cool way. And it also helped me learn as an actor, oh, if this is a really important thing for us to open the scene on, I got to figure out how to talk over it. I got to figure out how to do something to where it can't get clipped in the editing room. And I learned those lessons in such a different way, getting behind the camera and seeing it.
It's like that. I don't know if you ever did. Did you ever do commercials?
I did one commercial. That's actually how I got my SAG card in high school.
Same. What was yours?
It was a Kit Kat commercial.
Oh, was it a national?
It sure was. It's how I was able to
Did you
get my
find
SAG
it?
card, pay my dues to get into the union. I bought my first car. It was like the coolest thing that ever happened to me. I couldn't believe it.
That's fantastic.
Is it on the
mine was for a
internet?
Ross commercial, and they had hired someone else for the role, but they had a callback. They had said they felt bad because I had to drive in from Claremont.
We're
so I was like an hour
we're
late,
gonna see if
and
we
then
can try to
I was
find
the
that
audition,
commercial
And I did the regular audition, and I said,
that
hey,
she's
for the
talking
callback,
about.
no, can you dance so bad you make us laugh?
After
Like,
this
I was
video.
not ready for this.
I just remember saying,
I mean, after
just turn the
this
music on.
is
And I just
done.
freestyle bad dance for 45 seconds, and they
I
were like,
mean,
"Good dance."
we
And I was
could
like, "I
technically
said, because
interrupt
there's
this and try to
you learn
find
very
it now,
quickly in
but
commercials,
I'm not
especially
gonna do
if you're doing a
that.
food commercial or a product commercial, always be the person eating the food or holding the food, because they can't cut you out. They can't cut around you.
Genius.
Right? I thought that was so smart.
Genius.
So like what you're saying, it's like talk over what you can't lose.
Yeah.
Force their hand.
Yeah, I really learned that lesson the hard way. Next season, in season 8, I got to direct our Halloween episode, and my God, Peter Kowalski and I designed the coolest opening ever, because I was told that they were going to forego some commercials and do like a presented by thing. So I was going to get like, the teaser was supposed to be twice as long as it was, and then, you know, probably some person who was responsible for paying the bills on our show was like, we're not doing that. Absolutely not. And so this beautiful like action movie teaser that we directed for the Halloween episode of season 8 got chopped up and
Kick-ass?
actually like this thing I'm single-handedly the most embarrassed by that I've ever put out in the world, because it just doesn't work in the way that it aired. And so I think like I didn't even realize, knowing we were going to watch this episode, which was my directorial debut, I was so excited, but I was also like, oh God, what terrible thing happened? Like, I didn't even know as much in season 7 as I knew in season 8. Like, I don't want to see the mistakes. And I was like, wait a second, this episode's actually pretty lit. I love it.
It was great.
It really was.
Did that cut the trailer ever see the light of day, or is it live online anywhere?
No,
Yeah, that's a bummer. It should have been on a DVD as an extra.
that would have been so cool, actually.
It would have been great. So last week, Joe and I did a Q&A, and it was funny because one of the questions, this person specifically asked, what is the deal with people wearing shoes inside their houses? And I cracked up because this episode, literally the first shot is Julian asleep on your guys' couch
With
with
his
shoes on that are on a throw pillow on the couch.
So not right.
So not right. And so I immediately laughed. I was like, I gotta bring this up because like literally someone just asked us why, and I saw it going, what? You're gonna bring in your outside germs, your feet, and put them on your couch and throw pillows? What? He wasn't
Why?
drunk. He didn't pass out.
No. Well, and then there's always like this idea, right, of, oh, well, he came in and flopped down at 4 a.m. and just passed out, and now look at him, he's got his like, you know, feet up on the couch and whatever. So I get the argument. I remember the argument for like selling how tired he was and how late he must have come in. But all I can think about, particularly as a person who's lived in and out of New York City for 20 years, is like, you don't wear your shoes in your apartment in New York. Like, New York is dirty. It's the best place in the
Gross,
world, and it's also dirty.
Yeah, New York streets are gross. Sorry. New York streets are gross.
But there's just like, you know, it's a lot of traffic, it's a lot of germs, and I'm just like, I don't know, it drives me crazy. Like, I have the shoe cabinet by the front door. I'm like, no.
Yeah,
shoes
I don't
in
wear
the house.
shoes
Try to
indoors.
keep things clean.
I don't
So
even
then
wear
also
socks
realized that,
indoors.
like when I host parties at home in LA, like when people come over, I never
hate
ask them
wearing
to take their
socks
shoes off.
indoors.
And maybe that's because we drive more there. I don't know what it is. But yes, seeing Austin's shoes on the couch sent me down like a full sanitary spiral where I was like, pay attention, stop thinking about like Lysol and what laundry you need to do.
Shoes off home, because we are as well, and we do tell our guests their shoes need to come off. Is if like we have a friend who they wear shoes off home, but they have a dog that they take for walks and is in the backyard with poop and stuff. And so especially in New York, if you're walking your dog, it kind of defeats the purpose, right?
Well, you gotta have the little paw pad wipes,
Yeah.
you know?
I just feel like how many people are doing those? You know, if you've ever
I
put your
don't
dog in those booties, it's a show.
Yeah, it's not great.
No.
My sweet last dog, rest her precious soul, was just like the absolute best. She was so funny, Rob. I took her to Toronto to film with me in the middle of winter, and I put her in snow boots, and she literally just went like this. And like put one of her feet out and tried to shake it, and then realized it wasn't gonna come off, and then like did the rear foot on the other. I really regret not having filmed the most, because what I would do to watch the initial like dog in boot comedy, it's perfection.
Yeah, we did the same thing to our dog, and, but we did videotape it. It's the best because they suddenly forget how to walk.
They're perfect. I love it.
But they are necessary because your
nobody got to have
dogs
dogs
can
in
get
Texas,
frostbite
it's
if
absolute
you
travesty.
don't
But I guess
put
Jamie had the budget.
like protection on
I
them,
will say, like, circling back, I loved the way, and
on their feet.
I remember filming that scene. I actually think the first scene I shot as a director was that whole sequence with Austin in the house with Brooke and Julian. And I remember figuring out what the blocking was going to be like and coming to find him on the couch and having this whole conversation. And then, you know, when you're directing and acting, it's like I had to block the scene with him, and then I had to watch my stand-in act out the scene with Austin so I could really see it. And then I had to make notes, you know, from Video Village, watching the camera move, and then turn to our executive producer, Greg Prange, who served essentially as any actor-director's directing buddy on set. and go like, okay, I like this. I want to make sure they avoid that. And he'd go, okay. And then I'd have to walk in and do the scene and look at him and go, did we get it? And there was no playback. There was no opportunity to watch it. I just had to trust him.
Oh, wow.
Because there was no time. Like, imagine if I'd had to be the actor and then watch every take. We never would have made any of our days.
No.
But it's so interesting to be so prepared and so excited, and then to also have to kind of fly blind anytime you're on camera and just trust someone else to say, yeah, the shot looks great, and then move on.
Wow, that is a leap of faith. But thankfully, it was Greg. You know, so it's someone you have a long history with and you trust, because that's scary, not being able to sort of watch yourself and
Yeah, it feels very much like it gives me that like meerkat energy, like where you pop up and it's like, did we do okay? You have no idea what's happening out in the world around you, but it was so much fun, and it was cool because we sort of isolated my scenes on camera as much as we could, and there's something so special about the way everybody shows up because you are pulling double duty. And I was even thinking about it, nearing the end of the episode when Brooke calls Julian and is like, do whatever you have to do. And she's having this whole experience where, we're alluding to the fact that she's found out something really terrible about her fertility and her options to be a mom. And we hadn't quite said it yet, but I remember doing that phone call and like, by then Austin was wrapped. It's not like we shoot the phone calls with each other. It's usually you, the actor, and the script.
We're about to get the emotional scene.
And I remember how cool it was
next
then directing
episode.
Hannah in the hotel room and those beautiful scenes they did. And holy shit, we have to talk about how amazing her performance is. But like, I got to stand there as the director and do the phone call as Brooke. And it was just so cool. Like, I don't know, everybody kind of steps up with you when you direct on your own show. And I remember, in a really interesting way, watching these scenes made me remember all of those little things that I just hadn't thought about in years, and it was really sweet.
Yeah, I love when one member of the cast will direct, because it really is that like team spirit of, we got you, like we're gonna see you succeed. And the crew is the same way, we have a great crew. Okay, thank you for, I'm jumping ahead, but thank you for making sense of that last beat with Brooke. I was confused while she was throwing away her birth control. I didn't realize that she had been given bad news. I was wondering, I was left kind of going, is she throwing away her birth control to like get pregnant? What?
Yeah,
I was
she's
confused.
trying, what's the thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it hit me, remembering shooting these scenes and remembering doing the I've been ready at the doctor, like, it was so sweet to have Haley essentially do a very authentic recall for the audience of, you've wanted to have a baby, since you were 22. Brooke's always wanted to be a mom. And she's ready and she's ready and she's ready. And then when she goes to tell Haley about the doctor's appointment, like my throat caught watching the scene, because I was like, oh, I remember this. I remember what's coming. I know now that they've said I won't be able to have a baby, but I'm too upset to tell anyone. And it's why I'm crying with Haley in the corner of Trick in the middle of the day. And it's why when Julian comes in and says, we're celebrating because he's done with his script, she's like, right. Celebrating. Sure, it's this sad experience. And it tracks, I think, why she reacts so terribly to Rachel, because she has no one to take out her hurt and her upset on. And I think sometimes when you see someone who you have a complicated relationship with, you revert to behaving like a child.
Yeah, it's
it all
tough.
Just flowing back to me. And I was like, oh my god, this is the beginning of so much heartache.
Oh, there's joy.
Things like kind of a trip. And it made me love our show and all of you guys, and like even just the experience of making TV. It made us feel new again, even though we've been doing it for this was our 7th year. And it was so cool, and it taught me so many lessons I've just never forgotten as I've gone on to all the other things.
Going back to what you were saying about Trick, I just had a note that there's already, it's like, Trick is the place. It's like, come for the drink, stay for the assaults. We're 9 episodes deep. We've already had 2 slaps and a punch.
Yeah.
It is just a place in the town. People, when they have beef, they're like, let's go to Trick to settle it.
Yep. It used to be the basketball court, and now it's the bar.
I don't know.
Kind of interesting. Yeah, you hit a girl in Trick. I hit a girl in Trick.
I hit a boy in Trick. And fill me in. I was able to gather that she stole some money from you, but what exactly is the backstory with you two? Why you dislike her so much?
The backstory with Brooke and Rachel is that we were sort of each other's arch nemesis, who then became best friends in high school. We wound up living together, but Rachel was like, we had like a lot of dude writers. They just wrote her as like a quintessential, like stereotypical bad guy.
Her quoting Dan Scott though in that moment, so funny.
All the humor there, and by the way, like, honorable mention for me, I'm just gonna go ahead and say, James Lafferty looking at Danielle and then Paul and saying, well, if you run out of all my high school friends, I guess I could dip into my middle school friends for you. I was like, it's just like, it was so funny, because you've got Jamie being like, hi, Grandma Rachel, and everyone doesn't know what to do. Genius.
How about her line in that same scene where she says, it's funny, I used to want you to be my daddy, but now I'm your mommy. And then she doubles down, Jamie runs in the room and she goes, oh, hi, I remember when you were a roomer in 3rd period.
I have that line written down, it's so good.
Like, iconic. They gave Danielle some of the best one-liners in this, and I love seeing Rachel and Nathan throwing them back at each other. It's so great, because you assume it's gonna be Dan, but it's so fun to see it coming from the two of them.
I like that Dan was enjoying the experience too. Like, the little smirk on his face, like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah, but the sort of once we skip college and Brooke has Rachel modeling for the company. Brooke essentially gave Rachel the first version of Alex Dupre's job, and then Rachel was living in her place in New York, and then became an addict, and then stole a bunch of money from her, and it was like a whole nightmarish thing. And I don't know. I don't think they ever really wrapped up that storyline very well, which made me so happy.
Yeah, it was kind of
Rachel surprise, because it's nice to have her back.
Random.
But God, Rachel quoting Dan Scott to Brooke.
I think it was because initially Danielle had left the show abruptly, so they didn't really have too much of a closure for her story. And then Danielle agreed to come back with the idea of spending most of her time with Paul, because the creator's an ass, and Paul is very protective over all of the women. It's just kind of interesting how it fell into place, though.
It was just absolutely priceless.
Also, speaking of Dan, how perfectly Dan is it that on his private jet is not only his name, but a picture of himself. And
the phrase above the door. And if I may, that was all my choices. Like, what a crazy thing, by the way, as a first-time director, they're like, well, we've got to rent a private plane to shoot this scene. So, like, I don't know where we got it. The network obviously handled that. But someone brought in a jet, and I was like, no, it's got to be so overly branded as the Dan Scott plane. And my God, it just made me so happy. Step into the light. over the jet door. I was like, we need it. We have to have it.
Yes, and you got it. And that Coen Brothers shot of him standing in the door,
Yeah,
with
so
Bean over the top
funny.
of him. And even the color timing was cool and like vintagey and retro, and that shot that was just slightly above the waist. It was so
Yep.
good. Sophia.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Especially afterwards when Rachel comes out like absolutely disgusted that she's back in One Tree Hill.
Doing it. We are doing it
It's
big.
Jim and Tammy Faye. It's
Yes.
like, I mean,
Yeah.
you went full TV evangelist,
Yep.
and I was so here for it.
Yeah. I love it. It was really fun. That was the fight I was the most happy to win as a director on this.
That was a
so
good one to
great.
go to bat for.
Yeah. I was like, I know you think it's silly. It's not silly. We're doing it.
Worth it. Worth
The
it.
decals were worth it.
Were you, maybe you already talked about this, tell me if you did, but did you like acting in something that you're directing at the same time?
I really loved certain aspects of it. I loved being able to, I was saying this to Rob a little while ago, that, you know, it was nice that I got to kind of block the places that I worked. I was at Brooke and Julian's house, I was at Trick, and then I had, those 2 scenes at the doctor's office, but it was very condensed, which was really helpful. I have visceral sense memories of directing in the nightclub outfit, which was so funny to me.
The nightclub outfit, which was what? The black?
Which was like the
off
one shoulder, yeah.
Like,
Like
you had some dueling black and white off the shoulder, like white off the shoulder in the first half and then the black off the shoulder in the second. I noticed. Don't think that went unnoticed.
I didn't even track that at the time, but wow, I was really in a deep side part era, I suppose. But yeah, I remember the photos sitting in the director's chair behind Video Village in that outfit and how funny that was.
The most glamorous director ever.
Oh yeah, because obviously on all the other days it's like you come to work with wet hair and no makeup on and sweatpants because you're trying to do a job. But it's that, and then the night on the beach doing that final Clay and Quinn walk and talk and the first time they kiss. I was telling Rob when we first got on the Zoom, I remember the way the air smelled that night. You know when it's like a hot southern beach night and everything smells like salt and minerals and like you can smell the heat. I just remember that night. It was so perfect, and I was so happy that my like harebrained idea to do a walk and talk in the dark worked out.
It had to be a walk and talk, by the
It
way.
had to.
The thing I remember about that scene was when Chantal and I ran it, going, like, some of the dialogue was just cheesy. And I don't mean to be, but because we're talking like the moon is made of cheese, and we're both of us just saying, like, what are we saying? What is this? And it was like, let's just do that scene out of it and get past it, because then it'll get good, But that scene had to have movement. If you had us saying those words, standing
Looking
at each other,
no.
it would have felt so it would have had to make for a lot of awkward fidgeting, which would go against everything we're building.
There was also something I really liked that we were able to build into this episode, where as those feelings are building, as the balloon is swelling up, you were always doing something. You guys went to the volunteer center together. You were sitting at a bar facing out and stealing glances over Nathan. You were in the dark room working on photos. Like walking and sometimes being next to someone, like driving in a car, not having to look at them, allows you to say so much more than you might feel safe to do when you're holding eye contact. And it felt so nice then to get the payoff of when you finally turn and look at each other and you admit that you're both afraid. And then we get our hero moment. We get our hero kiss. It was like, oh, they've arrived. And it was nice to see that work out.
Did you notice? I was so curious if you got this, because I'm sure you watched the episode so closely. The first scene with Clay and Quinn, where she comes to the beach house, it ends with her saying, I'm gonna take you somewhere. I'm gonna surprise you. Just come with me. And she pulls me out of the shot.
Yeah.
You have a little tiny camera pan, and at the very end, did you notice that it catches a flag? There's a giant black flag in the side of the shot.
Well, you know why that is? Because the ratios have changed. Since so like one of the things our show gets the most made fun of for on the internet is that it was not made to fit a whatever 16:9. I don't know what it was versus what it is. There's too many things for my dyslexic brain to keep track of. But, like, there's like an incredible shot in season 1 of when Chad goes to
It's like when if you watch Blue's Clues now, because Blue's Clues was shot on a square, like Steve Blue's Clues, not the new one. You can see that he's kind of like floating because the ratio has changed. And so he kind of like floats in the middle of the room instead of being like, because whenever he's on like the side, he's like clipping, because it's not really his entire body that is in that frame. So it's kind of funny to watch because he's just like a legless floating body.
When her car's broken down and he brings the tow truck from Keith's auto body, and like you can fully see the edge of a sound guy and a boom and a whole, like now that it's readjusted for streaming and the screens are wider, like we have widescreen televisions now, they weren't like that when we first started making the show.
Instead of cutting off what's currently there, they just added, they pulled back.
That's so funny. I just saw a reel of Lafferty watching a shot. It's like a wedding shot. It's a giant, wide camera shot, a crane shot. And you clearly, at the top of the frame, you see the dolly, the camera operator, the assistant camera operator, and like the grip pushing him.
Yeah, because if you remember, you guys, like from standing behind Video Village, there would be this wide monitor, but then the black lines inside of it that showed you the television screen framing. So if there was someone standing in between a black line and the edge of frame, what did we give a shit for? It wasn't going to be on TV. And now it's on TV.
The magic is made.
Yeah.
This episode, the one thing
I haven't noticed that actually.
And this isn't a direct quote,
Maybe it's just the ones that I'm
just how
watching.
quickly Millie has turned into a cautionary tale.
know.
Has she done a single
Instantly.
job as a model yet? Because it's so outrageous, and I think they went like, it's just some of the stuff is silly. I get the pressure to feel thin after Jana's comments, what she's doing, but the fact that she's calling mouth and not Marvin, like, show her behavior changing, but to start showing personality changes, it all just, and she's like, she's stealing drugs. Everything changed. I found myself going, has she done a single job yet?
Yeah, like who is this person?
No, I think she just did a runway show.
Yeah.
And then she got hired to model, but never, I haven't seen her.
It's like
do
a
it.
winter. I think it might be the party scene though, not necessarily the actual modeling job, because it's clear that number one, Millie went into this having a lot of insecurities, and she feels like she has to be like Alex Dupre in order to be successful as a model. And she read all those like hateful comments, and she's been hanging around with people like McKenna and the other people, and it's very clear that she's been on drugs for a bit now. I mean, Marvin found them, and then also the cocaine and everything. So it's obvious that the drug storyline didn't start like now. I mean, we're seeing it now, but it didn't. It probably started a lot sooner. I mean, I don't think like Alex introduced her to drugs or anything like that. I don't think she would do that. But I think that maybe when Millie was alone with McKenna, there were conversations that happened that encourage Millie to go down this route.
That classic thing. Something I loved was you saying, Rob, when Clay says to Nathan, let me do my job, and then it cuts to Millie saying to Alex, it's my job. She's like, I love those little flip of the coin kind of dialogue transitions. But what shocked me about it, as good as Lisa was at playing what she was given and making it feel...
I also think that maybe some things have happened off screen because Millie and Alex were not a part of some of these episodes. That they're just kind of letting you assume that there have been gigs that have happened. We just didn't see them.
Hilarious and out of control and, yes, motivated by having to keep up. Like, I thought she did such a great job, but what bothered me was that all they gave her in the dialogue to explain this enormous transition was, I've been seen in all my C over B clothes. I need something new. I have to dip into your closet. They were alluding to the fact that Millie's been going to so many events for the company now that she no longer has anything to wear. And I was like, God, I hate when they want to excuse where they want a character to be and they don't want to do the work to get your character there. They just give you a line of exposition and they expect the audience to believe it's true. And I would have loved to have seen more of the experiences of Millie at these parties, maybe feeling awkward and then beginning to get rewarded by behaving like a caricature of Alex and these things that she is in this episode. I want to see her journey to get here.
Well, and I want to see. It was sort of like they took an Etch-a-Sketch and they just.
I think they assumed that because you have to remember that going into this, Millie and Alex were both background characters. They were not meant to be regular occurring guests. They became regular occurring guests because people loved them, but initially they were meant to be like background characters that were just kind of like floating there. So I think that perhaps the producers and the directors and the writers believed that these characters didn't need to be on screen all the time and they could have these storylines happening in the background while the main characters, like Brooke and Julian and Nathan and Clay, took front and center stage while these things were happening in the background, but they assumed that nobody would really care about them when it couldn't be further from the truth.
Shook the Millie character and then started with nothing and then made her an after-school special. Like, I didn't feel like Millie is someone she's professional, she's organized, and it's all of that was gone. Like, there was no personality outside of I need this is important, and like she already has diet pills and she's stealing cocaine.
Yeah,
That's pretty far down the line.
She's being shitty to her boss/friend. It was just
she's stealing from Brooke, knowing about Brooke and Rachel's history. Like, it's all so weird.
So strange.
But I will say something that I love about Lisa as a performer is she was like, I'm gonna make these scenes the best I can, whether they make sense or not. Like, she committed to the bit, she committed to letting this girl go off the rails, and I am appreciative of actors. It took me a while to learn this. There were times when I would feel so uncomfortable when my character was being put in compromising positions or whatever, and I realized after a while, it's not my job to judge my characters.
Yeah.
It's my job to make their journeys true, whether their journeys are squeaky clean and great or not. And I loved that Lisa showed up, not to judge Millie, but just to allow Millie to have a whoa, what's happening to you moment, and she committed full throttle, and I really admire that about her.
Yeah.
her performance was great. She did that material as well as you could. It was just I felt myself to
It's lazy writing when they do the flip that fast.
Yes, exactly.
I wonder if they have all the boards up in the writer's room, and I wonder if they're cross-referencing, cross-section, like trying to, on a map how you have to, folks on maps.
On those little cartography papers.
You've got the grid. You have to find, what your street is, 013. So I'm wondering if they have these sort of things around the writer's room where they know they've got all the storylines and how they intersect, and if they can't get character C to point 13 by episode 12, then it's a huge problem because then it starts affecting the fallout for characters in other ways.
Yeah.
So I think,
because you have to understand that we are getting to the point where Millie and Alex have that huge fight that ultimately leads to Alex, So they need to make sure that they get Millie to that point to where she can be that person to push Alex over the edge. So I think, they were probably crunched for time and running out of time because they needed to get this point. This is obviously something that was planned well in advance, so they need to get here or they're going to miss it entirely, and they can't miss it because this is their mid-season finale. So I think that's why this went so fast. I do think that we should have seen like a little bit of pieces in the background from Millie, even if it's not something significant. I mean, we did see her going into like the parties and everything, I think. But not enough to see that this truly changed her and affected her. It's like one day she's normal Millie, and next day she's cocaine addict, drug addict Millie. Which, I mean, can happen, but usually it's a little bit more progressive than that.
It's gonna be a really difficult job to keep all those balls in the air,
Absolutely.
cross-section everything.
And by the way, part of the reason Millie had to be so far down this kind of wild path in this episode was so that when Rachel was apologizing to Brooke for stealing from her, Brooke would turn around and see that Millie had just stolen from her. Like, it had to happen this way.
Yeah.
But it is the unfortunate thing, as we all know and remember. The great thing about being in an ensemble cast is that there are so many storylines, and you don't have to do the tired, repetitive, like character A and character B go on the same journey again.
Yeah.
But what does happen sometimes is if there's this really important thing happening in section 1, and there's not enough time in episode 708 to get over here into section 3 with Millie, they're just going to give her a line of exposition at the top of episode 709 and be like, oh well, she's been partying.
Yeah.
Like they have to keep it moving. So it's like, on the one hand, I'm bummed as a viewer because I want more of her journey, and on the other hand, literally being behind the camera on this episode, I feel like to your point, Joy, I have such grace for how complex that is, and it really makes me think about the kinds of showrunners, like when you think about an Aaron Sorkin on The West Wing, where you go, oh, you're a freaky genius that you were able to do years and years of a show and never have anything that felt like this. Like, how does a brain do that?
Rob, have you ever directed anything?
I haven't.
Do you have a desire to?
I have an interest.
Okay.
Because I had a mentor early on tell me, you're going to make a great director, Robbie. And because I just looked up to him so much, I thought, oh, so he planted a seed, but I've also just found myself, I guess the answer is my interest is growing, but I haven't had the burning desire to really start advocating for it. Like if it was a short I wrote or something, I wish I'd learned when I'm on set, but I'm not, No, I think on iZombie, I remember saying, hey, if we do a 6 season, I want to direct. And there was a part of me going, I wouldn't mind if we didn't get a 6 season. That was a bluff. I need the universe to step in because I'm kind of afraid I just said that to say it.
You're like, oh
There's so
no.
many different ways of storytelling. Your passion can lie in so many different areas of that.
One of the things that I do think is so cool, though, about the opportunity to direct in a universe that you know really well, like you did with iZombie, the way I feel like I did, and you obviously did, Joy, when we were doing it this season in our show, is little things that aren't on the page. But for example, when we think about the heart-to-heart, kind of calling him out moment that I got to have as Brooke with Paul, Julian's dad, and say, I've got this ugly poster on my wall because of you, because he has one memory of one good day, and he had to look at that and it reassess their relationship. You see in this episode, and this was so important to me, making what was Peyton's and then Sam's room into Julian's office and putting the Thin Red Line poster in there and having him call his dad, and his dad's walking around this beautiful LA office, and then near the end of the scene, when Paul, Julian's dad, not Paul Norris, so I'm like, I can't say that because of Paul Dan, but Julian's dad walks through his office, and then when it cuts from Julian and cuts back to him, you see him step into a shot, and the Thin Red Line poster is now hanging on the wall in his office.
Oh, no way. I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
And that was a thing that I knew to do, to tell the story of these men, finding each other and having this thing and this love between his father and his son. That was
you gotta
huge.
rely on visuals
And, like,
sometimes.
I don't know, a director who might have come in to do 709 but hadn't seen that episode or hadn't read those scripts maybe because it wouldn't have been in there Let Me Catch Up on the World of One Tree Hill package, like might not have had that. So there's something so cool that you get to do in terms of keeping these Easter eggs in the world.
Yeah.
When you know a show like front and back. So I don't know, I get that, you might have felt relieved, but I would love to see you direct and like see what you would pull out.
It would be so much screaming and just divisive, really authoritarian. Yeah, it would be Iron Fist.
So that really tracks for your personality.
I have a question about Julian and Brooke. Why did Julian not invite Brooke to come over to Alex's and participate in this helping Alex situation?
I know.
Listen, this, great question. And I also watched this whole scene going,
Oh, buddy.
come on, pal. You can just talk her through the phone. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to go to a hotel room. You tell her to dump it out and find a meeting. Like, you don't need to be the one who goes there. It was a real dumb move on his part, especially after he's been leaving Brooke sort of on her own for this long, and this is their night out to celebrate, and you're gonna dip. Oh.
I know. Dude, like I can understand being a friend who doesn't, if he's never experienced this before, although being a producer in Hollywood, I find it hard to believe, but it's okay. If he's never experienced this kind of desperation on the other line, I get the first instinct. I want kind. I want to come help. I want to participate and be there for you. So even giving him the space to not know the alternative. Just call Brooke or tell her, be like, come with me, let's go do this together. We're a team. I'm sorry it's ruining our date night, but like we have somebody that we know who's in trouble. Let's do it together.
Yeah, and this person makes you uncomfortable. So come see our relationship in action and understand that it's not that kind of a thing.
Yes.
And the way we sort of had to, because again, there's no drama if he does break up.
He has to make a
and
decision.
This is a drama, so you got to have the drama. But the only way that we could figure out how to make that decision seem feasible was that when he came out to look for Brooke, she was gone and he didn't know where she was. It was like, I gotta go.
Oh, did you guys come up with that?
It's hard to remember. I don't know if we came up with it.
But you had weeks of prep too, so you easily could have called and been like, this doesn't make sense. And
I feel like that was something that was really important to Austin and I, and it's why we shot that close-up of him like looking around Trick and not knowing even where to go, because it's a huge crowd at that point and she's not at the bar, and there's, we've specifically left my empty cocktail glass there.
Yes.
So we wanted there to be some sort of plausibility to the fact that he doesn't have time to find her, he's got to run out and make sure this person doesn't, like, God forbid, OD or whatever.
Yeah.
But what I loved that we were able to get the moment once he got there. It's obviously not a ruse on Alex's part. Jenna was so beautiful in these scenes. I mean, so vulnerable. She just absolutely sat there with me and was completely willing to trust us and let me keep rolling. And I was like, I don't want to cut. I just want to be here for you and like let this be real. And she was so raw and so vulnerable. And for me, in a way, because of how wonderful she was, it sold why Julian did what he did.
Yeah.
Because clearly she wasn't trying to trick him. She was really, really struggling. And I thought the line was so great when she said, "You're the only one I could call who wouldn't want to do it with me or report it to the tabloids." And you go, oh, this girl literally has no one who cares.
I think that's also probably why she didn't call Brooke, because Brooke is very famous and very much a public figure. I feel like if she called Brooke, it would maybe attract paparazzi. But not only that, but I mean, she knows that Brooke and her haven't had the best of relationships, and she probably doesn't want to add on to it and make her feel like she's like faking it or something. It's kind of sad because at this point Alex doesn't really have a lot of friends, and she can't even trust the friends that she does have because Millie is turning into that kind of drug addict. So even Millie is no longer a safe option.
And yes, she has, questionable feelings for this man who is someone else's boyfriend. And yes, all these things. But when you really see underneath all the bluster, I think it's so beautiful. And I think they did such a good job. And I love Alex and Julian. Like, of all the people, I'm supposed to hate them, and I actually really, really love them. I love watching them together.
Yeah, they're fun. It's like Abbott and Costello. They're
Special.
so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And circling back to what you were saying about needing to connect, like all the connective tissues between the big beats. I gotta say, now I get it, because the vial of Coke had to be empty. The smartest way to get it empty without her knowing is to have Millie steal it.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I was sort of thinking of it in a vacuum, but the truth is, when you gotta make all that work, yeah, all right,
Yeah.
rescinded
Yeah.
writers.
Yeah, it's like finding the next pages on the Thomas Guide. Like, the letters and the numbers have to add up.
That's what it's the Thomas
Do you know what kind of boomers we sound like when we talk about Thomas guides? You realize no one under 38 has ever used a Thomas guide.
Totally.
Yeah.
I have no idea what
Okay,
you're talking
so-
about.
I have a question for you, because I don't remember. But our storyline, obviously, the episode is so sweet because you get to see our history since high school. And
Yeah.
I love Brooke and Haley's friendship, and I love that Brooke lets you in on the secret and then comes to you with the sadness and the whole vibe.
Yeah.
But part of me had this moment where I was like, wait, I don't remember. Because you come to me to dress you for your concert, and then you're wearing a hoodie.
Yeah, I don't wear anything.
Do you
yours at
remember?
all.
I don't
That's so
remember.
funny. I guess we just got sidetracked. I'm imagining we just started gabbing and talking about your maybe pregnancy.
I
And
don't know.
by the time I left, it was like, Brooke's gonna be okay. And then I got home and went, oh, I didn't get anything from Closer for Brooke.
And I remember the device, because you're zipping and unzipping and zipping and unzipping. Like, it's a nervous thing with the sweatshirt. But then Haley walks on stage to sing, and you're wearing the sweatshirt, and I genuinely was like, did you and I make that choice? Was that, like, I just don't remember. But I was like, wait, we have this lovely storyline together, and part of our storyline is that I've made you an outfit.
I feel like there was some conversation about the hat. Like, it was terrible. I don't know why I was so insistent on that stupid purple beret.
Okay, I wasn't gonna say you were very insistent on the knit cap.
I was. I don't know what. It was horrible. I remember talking with you about it on set, and I was like, no, I'm gonna wear it.
You're like, I'm wearing it, and I was like, You're like, you
Sure,
sure?
just something Brooke would give him.
No, to be clear, Closer for Bros does not do beanies.
Hey, also at the fashion show, we had the introduction of Grubs.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So epic. And I forgot that his spiritual gift when he first got on the show was that he knew what everyone wanted to drink.
So
Same.
cool.
I love the vibe. He is the antithesis.
And
of
the
Chase.
the thing is that makes Miranda attractive. He doesn't know what she wants to drink. She's unexpected.
Chase is in on the joke. And he's
Yeah.
like, this guy actually knows what you want to drink. Everyone leave me alone.
Who
It's
does,
so funny.
isn't there a bit? Doesn't someone walk up and they go, guess their drink, and he says blood?
Dan
Oh,
Scott.
Dan. Yeah. That was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
So
it's a great
good.
introduction of him. And he's
It's
now
so
scoring James's show with James and Steven's show. Everybody's doing great.
Yeah.
He's
No
Grubs
way.
scores the whole show. Like, it's amazing how the family's just lasted.
And
So
he
cool.
and Kate Vogel have their band.
They got their
Mhm.
band, Your Future Ghost.
It's
Come
so
on.
fun.
That's wild. Is the song that you sing in this episode, Joy, an original of yours?
It is.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I was dreading this episode. I was really dreading it. I'm
Because
so
of the
glad
knit
it's
cap
over.
you insisted on?
The knit cap, it's burned into my brain. Yeah, all of it. I could see it in my eyes. Like, I was at a really low point in my life
Yeah.
when we were filming this episode. And
Mm.
I mean, I could see it. I'm watching myself just act in these scenes, and like my heart's breaking for younger me. Like,
Yeah.
I was in a lot of pain. So I'm glad this episode's over.
I'm glad for you it's over. I was wondering how you felt.
Mhm.
I mean, I'd like to think I knew how you were going to feel about it. I didn't know how you feel about talking about it. But
Yeah.
it was interesting to look back on it, given that whole dynamic and who was involved in your music then and who was involved in your life then. And watching it from this point, I was like, God, the ringers we got put through as young women
Mm.
in some of these situations that, like, on the other side of them, I'm amazed we got out of
Yeah.
in the way that we did. And, like, we just had to go to work and
Yeah.
be so happy all the time. Like, just do it
Just
no matter
do
what.
it,
And no one really
yeah.
cared. And it is, like, very interesting when I think about, the way
People forget that
Everyone
these
feels like
actors
they're
are,
going through all this
human
stuff. We,
beings,
like,
that they
survived our
do
own,
have,
like, even within what was happening
burnout
in the show for us all,
and
we each had to go
breaking
through these
points
incredible trials
and
tribulations in our lives.
Yeah.
real life
And then to work on it, like,
shit
what happened?
happening.
It's amazing.
And the thing about actors is that you kind of pretend that your real life isn't happening because you can't let that bleed into your performance.
to do and do gladly. Like, in spite of all of the personal pain that I was in, I actually was really glad to come to work. It was a relief for me. It was a safe haven. It was a place to come and,
Escape.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, personal lives bleed into things like being insistent on purple hats that don't look good on camera because I wanted to be in control of something.
Listen, it's a fine exercising of emo. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that was the least of it. But like, it is amazing what artists do. And I really just makes me love actors. I just love actors. Like, we care so much about telling stories and telling good stories that no matter what's going on in our life, we
just
are
put
able
it
to somehow shut
aside.
it all down and dive back into the story. It's so great.
Have you seen the footage of, I think it was right when Katy Perry was going through her divorce with Russell Brand. There's the videoing her right before she gets raised up to the stage, and she is like sobbing, just sobbing. She's like hyperventilating, and then and then the thing starts to go up, and she has to turn it on, and she hits the stage, and she's just on badass form. It's like you have to have the capacity to do that. It's like, okay, you're going through stuff, but for the next hour you got to not be.
You gotta not be. You just have to not be.
Yeah,
It's extraordinary. I mean, it's terrible in many ways, but there are outlets and ways to learn how to cope with it. And nobody's got a perfect life, and nobody's got a perfect job, and we all need to exist in different spaces because the world needs people to.
Yeah, because then everyone goes around and says, well, this person was fine because they performed without any issues. Like, they're not upset. They're not, and that's not really evidence because sometimes we do put up those walls so that nobody knows that we're suffering on the inside, and it's just something that we consciously make a decision for.
on a regular basis, and the world needs people who can compartmentalize.
We don't want people to come up to us and ask us how we
obviously,
are.
The behind the scenes of it, not weighing into the episode itself. Like, we know each other, so we know. But I loved seeing you back on stage as Haley.
Yeah, it was fun.
I love the comedy that we've settled into with Haley and Miranda. Like the buddy comedy with the girls is so fun for me. The
Yeah.
Alex and
Oh, I love
Millie
her.
and the Haley and Miranda, and like she's so ridiculous but so funny because India is so
Free.
great.
Yes.
And her being like, I love that I came up with this idea, and you're just like, what the?
Yeah.
The whole thing is just so good, and it felt nice to see Haley win.
Yeah, I did too. I was nice to see her just sort of stepping into one of her passions and having space to do that. It's like she was saying to Nathan at the end, which was short-lived, but hey, look at us.
That scene, and he's like, why did you have to say it? You
That's
jinxed
right.
it.
Don't jinx us.
To turn around from that sweet moment, see Dan and Rachel, and
Oh,
then
that was
his
great.
contract gets swiped out from under him. I was like, oh man, come on.
Also, by the way, just Nathan opening the door to Dan Scott and then shutting it.
I'm shutting it. That was perfect. Okay, I know we're running over. Friends at home, thank you for bearing with us. We have a listener question I actually think is sort of perfect for this, since we're talking about these eras we went through on this show, because Susan asks, which One Tree Hill episode or scene do you think would make a great standalone short film, and how would you envision it?
I got one for this.
Okay.
I want to see an entire movie of when Millie has to pick up Alex Dupree at the airport and get her to the hotel. Except I want to see it like planes, trains, and
All of it.
automobiles. where it's just all stuck together and get to see the two of them. Was it? Oh
We
man.
talked about that
Yes,
before.
it would be so good.
Okay, runner up. That can be yours, Joy. Here's my runner up.
No, it's fine. That's fine.
How about the episode where the three of you get stoned? I can go for a movie.
Totally agree. A movie of that, and also Rob, there's an episode you haven't seen, but back in the high school years where Brooke and Haley and Peyton went on a road trip to New York together, and like when we watched it, we all said this should have been a movie. This should have been like a 90-minute. We needed more of this.
Oh, yeah.
So there's just something about those
The road
moments
trip
for the
moments.
girls. Yeah, a Tree Hill road trip. I'm in.
Yeah. Wait, what was your runner-up, Rob? What did you just say the last name?
The weed brownie party.
Oh yeah. Wait, has anybody made a comedy horror movie where the main characters get stoned and then they're like being chased by people, but they're like dealing
High.
with murder and being high?
Yeah, it was called Pineapple Express.
Oh right.
Not
okay.
horror,
Okay.
but yes, an action,
Not horror.
a stoner action film. We could do it.
What if we did? Here's how it is. It's the weed brownie party, but it's done a la Clue, like the original Clue.
Yes. Oh my God, and you have to solve puzzles when you're stoned.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, great.
All right. Should we spin a wheel?
Let's do it. Let's spin a wheel, friends. I really want to know what happens next week. Also, I have no idea.
Here you
I
go.
don't either. This episode didn't lead us into anything except Nathan Scott's career.
It gave me no clues.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get more of Dan and Rachel, I'm sure.
Oh God, I hope so. Oh my God.
Most likely to compete on Dancing with the Stars.
Jenna did it.
Yeah, Jenna, there you go.
Jenna.
What'd she do?
Jenna.
I mean, pretty freaking well.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Dupre would
Gosh,
definitely.
you know who else I think would be really good at it? Would also be Lisa Goldstein. They should go
Yeah.
together. That could be a freaking short film. Millie and Alex go on Dancing with the Stars because Lisa did so much like incredible choreography in her first job for so long.
Yeah, it's
Oh, I
gotta
feel
be
like
like
I would say, like, if there was a spinoff that I would actually watch and want, it's Millie and Alex. The Millie and Alex spinoff. Where I mean, other One Tree Hill like people can like be around, but I mean, I'd be down.
Is it weird? I feel like I can see Lee.
That
Martin
or
I fully agree. It would be
well,
so good.
Yeah, I think actually Antoine would be really good at that too because he throws himself 100% into anything that he goes for.
He does.
I mean, I think he would be like, haha, this is really funny, but he would work hard.
So essentially, what you're saying is there should be a whole season of Dancing with the Stars just with our cast.
Let's do it.
Could you imagine?
That would actually be so funny.
Listen, I would be the first voted off, but I would give you one hell of a performance.
Would you do bad dancing on purpose?
Oh, 100%.
Like in the commercial? Okay, great.
No, the sad thing is I would actually try my hardest to probably still get voted off.
I'm obsessed. All right, friends. This was
Thanks,
perfect.
everybody.
What do we got next week?
Next week, we have season 7, episode 10. You are a runner, and I am my father's son.
and I will be watching that
Alright.
to make
Cool.
sure that I remember what it is. Okay, before we let me see 1 second. I just want to see Sophia Bush Kit Kat commercial. Is it this? Wait. Hang on. I think it might be this. I can't tell if Sophia Bush is in this because the quality is so bad. But maybe wait, is that no? Wait, I don't think this is it. There's no way this is it. Okay, 1 second. I don't think that's it. I'm pretty sure that's not it. Kit Kat bar. I don't think this is it. Yeah, I don't think this is it. I don't think this is it. Damn. I don't know. Although, I mean, maybe. Because this was like... don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't think this is it. Sophia, but wait, hang on. Sophia Bush Kit Kat commercial. Wait, that's not Sophia. No, it's not Sophia Bush. I think it's just overriding, giving me the images. I mean, wait, is that it? No way. There's no way that's it. She's too young. Wait. Oh, I think I found it. Wait, I think this is it. I think. Hang on.
Attention choppers, Kit Kat break time.
Okay, hang on. I think I found it. Oh my god. Go away. Okay. Okay, wait. Hang on 1 second. Sorry. Sophia Bush Kit Kat commercial. I think it's this one. Okay. Here we go. I think this is it.
Attention choppers, Kit Kat break time.
Give me a break. Give me a break. Break me off a piece of that.
I think that's Sophia.
Give me a break.
Wait.
Give me a break. I want to take a break.
I can't tell. It's such back. Oh yeah, that is definitely Sophia Bush. Okay, never mind. She's so young. She's so small. Is there a better version of that though? Like, is there like one that's not so grainy? Yeah, that's definitely Sophia Bush. But I wonder if there's a better version of that. Maybe this one.
Attention choppers.
I think it's just that it's old. It's just old. Yeah, it's Sophia Bush. There she is. Yeah, that's definitely Sophia Bush right there. Look at that. Look at that face. Yeah, that is horrible quality though. Oh my god. I can't believe that was HD quality at the time. Anyways, yeah, I mean, not too much to talk about. I think we're gonna get into really heavy topics next episode because I'm pretty sure I know what's coming up. But I'm interested to see where we go next with this. I'm gonna watch the next episode of One Tree Hill, which is 710, and we'll be talking about it probably next week. Anyways, bye. Have a nice day. See ya. Bye.